Hey guys, this is Duncan, the Let's Test Roving reporter. Today, I'm lucky enough to be here with Oz and Janco. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hello,
Hey,
Duncan.
how's it, Duncan?
You keeping well?
Yeah, we're doing great. Well, I'm doing great.
Yeah, excited for Let's Test in what, about 2 weeks' time now. So,
Yes.
Oh, sorry, repeat again.
Okay.
You froze up then.
we're looking forward to Let's Test in about 2 weeks' time. So that's exciting. Yeah.
It's not long at all, is it?
No. Kind of scary at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get onto a session in a minute. Let's talk about you guys to begin with, right? So you guys are working for the same company, and I guess your session is about your experience, right? Do you want to tell us a bit about yourselves and how you came to be doing this session?
Yeah. That's actually an interesting question, whether we work for the same company. We actually we're employed by different companies,
Okay.
and we ended up being on the same team at the same client. So, that's kind of how we met and then started working together in that way. So even though we're employed by different people or companies, we do work together on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
It doesn't feel like we're employed by different people at all, because we see each other every day. We work together every day. We collaborate each and every day.
So both organizations that you work for have got the same kind of ultimate goal. You don't find yourself being pulled in two different directions. You're all there for the client.
So we are working on a specific, call it a project. It's not, I don't like the word project, but it's a specific department or system within, we're in a bank.
Right.
Yes. So that's how we get together.
That's cool. And so, oh wow, so you haven't just got the silos of kind of tester and program. You got the silos of different organizations as well.
Yeah. We're aware of these different containers. So, and yet when we're in the same room, we're all conscious of, that's a container that we're all part of. So we try and keep our employer's stuff outside of that room. When we're in the same room, that's our team. So our team is called the Keyblade team. We're the Keyblade team. We're not Driven or Daryl or whoever we may be working for.
Yeah. And if you came into our office, you would never know. You would think everybody is employed by the same person and doing the same thing together.
Yeah, to the one common goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's really good, isn't it? That's cool, which I guess kind of really helps with the kind of the environment for fostering this kind of culture that you guys have. Sounds awesome.
That we happen to be working at as the client is that they do create a lot of freedom for us to make decisions. We have a lot of autonomy in the way we do things, so we're trusted to do the right thing as practitioners, and I don't like the word, but let's say experts in our various areas. We're trusted to make the right decisions and do what's best for the client, and we find that actually makes a huge difference in how the team operates and works. There are no ulterior motives, call it that, that you sometimes find in dysfunctional teams. So.
Can you kind of give us an example of, like, not what your typical day would be, but give us an example of how you guys kind of work together in order to kind of produce software?
Okay, so our work is prioritized by a product owner who is an employee of the organization, so of the client, right? They decide what is important and the priority, and when that is presented to the team gets together. We're a team of developers and testers, but we don't consider ourselves as that. We're just a team that solves problems. So as soon as we know that there's something that the team needs to get onto, we all get on it. And I mean, everybody pretty much goes around the whiteboard. I must say, most of our work starts on the whiteboard, somebody explaining what the problem is. And if we don't understand, or if we feel there's a gap there, we get the end user or the person who's feeling the pain in the organization. We try to get them over. Hello, come talk to us. What is the problem you're trying to solve? And we start from there and try to kill any assumptions that might be there. We try to explore if we can solve that problem without writing any code. And yeah, once we are really sure, okay, there is a problem and it's not a process problem, that can deliver a valuable solution. Yeah.
Oh, kind of broken up a bit there. Go on.
Yeah, to add to that, I think the gist of that is that we don't see ourselves as, developers and testers and specialized skills. So we respect and acknowledge the fact that we're all, people with different skills. But when we're in the team, we see ourselves as problem solvers. That's ultimately what we're there for.
You are a team of problem solvers.
Yes,
Okay.
that's basically the gist of it.
Fantastic. And so, what kind of numbers are on your team?
Our team's always in flux.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, at the moment, I think we're around about is it 9 people or so.
Okay.
And the team we'll be losing 2 team members shortly. They're actually going halfway across the world for other opportunities. So we're looking at growing the team. But I think eventually our ideal size would be about 10, 11 people or so.
That's cool. So that's still relatively easy to kind of look after, isn't it? And have the relationships between each team member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're very conscious of the fact that large teams don't communicate well, and a lot of things get lost between those interactions.
And are you all co-located?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting. The comment was made just yesterday that one team member wasn't able to come into the office one day,
right?
And for half day thought they could maybe do a bit of remote work, and then they tried and they actually couldn't because of the way we've gotten used to working. Is that it's almost impossible for one person to go off and work individually. So yeah, we've come to rely heavily on that co-location.
And not only are we co-located, so developer sits next to a tester, next to another developer, next to another tester. It doesn't really matter where one sits.
Yeah, I can imagine you probably don't spend long at your own desk, do you? I can imagine you moving around between desks, talking to different people, getting the problem solved.
Yeah. We actually, and this is maybe a way to get into our session at Let's Test. We make use of a technique called mob programming, where we're about 4 or 5 people, usually around one computer, one big screen. So it's not often that you find an individual actually just spending a whole day in front of their own computer. We have a common work area with a big screen that most of the time spent working on problems are spent at.
Yeah, and if I can add that, not only do we mob program, but mob testing sometimes.
Yes.
So we all sit together and say, what is it that needs to be done right now? And everybody who has capacity and is available comes around the mob station, and we do what needs to be done.
That's brilliant. So were you doing that before the phrase was coined, mob programming? Were you working like this, or have you seen the term mob programming? Mob programming. Did you say, that's a really good idea, we should try it? Did you evolve into mob programming, or did you see it and try it?
We had a strong culture of collaboration. We've always had that in the team, but 4 or 5 people spending time together in front of a workstation every day, well, that was kind of a new thing for us, and we only started doing that around July, August last year. One of our team members attended or actually spent some time with a team in the States for a couple of days, and that's where he picked up the technique, and then he brought it back to us, and we tried it and we liked it, and we're still doing it.
Yeah.
I could have a whole other conversation with you about mod programming. I'm fascinated by it. I keep trying to bring
Come to our session at Let's Test, and
definitely. Cool. So moving on to Let's Test. And so how did this session come about? And without too many spoilers, what can we expect from it?
So it really is interesting for us as well, because it's a little bit of an experiment, to put it that way.
Okay.
Because doing a workshop on mob programming at a testers conference, I think you can see the problem, right? So how would you do that? So we're trying out something, and what we've come up with is a workshop that tries to extract the principles that make mob programming effective and make it work, package it into a different format so that programmers can actually experience that same kind of effectiveness in problem solving. And that's basically what we're going to try and achieve, is show people the benefit of working together, bringing their different perspectives onto the same problem and arriving at a better solution than any one individual would. That's the pitch.
Yeah.
That's really good, isn't it? So it's kind of adopting the wisdom of crowds idea, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly that. It's at the end of the day, it's not about programming and writing code. It's about problem solving, and that, if that's your departure point, you start to think about things in a different way. Software development is less about how well you know a programming language and the syntax of it and how fast you can type than it is about problem solving. That really is where it's at. It's that problem solving. And when problem solving is your focus, then you start to rethink the tools that you use. Most people would, their tools would be, if you ask them what their tools were, would go, oh, it's this programming language, it's this type of machine, or, whatever the case may be. For us, if our focus is it's problem solving, we've adjusted our tools accordingly, and our main tool for problem solving is thinking. That's how we see the world. Right. So we think about things, we talk through problems, we discuss it, and that's better done with a group of people who all bring their different perspectives to the problem. And it may not have been any one individual solution, but it's going to be what we think is the best solution at the end of the day.
Yeah, well said, Janco. And I think what we're aiming to do right there is to have a shared context among everybody,
yes.
Of context of the problem and the solution.
That's fantastic. So do you guys have then about, like, because obviously the more programming is that it's wasteful to have five deliver one thing. Do you have any kind of data to count? Actually, we found that whatever term, for whatever definition of the term you want to use, the quality has increased on the back of my program. Have you got enough data for that yet?
If I got your question correctly, because you did break up a little bit, is do we have any data as to how it's changed basically our delivery? Has it gotten better? Has the quality gone up? Was that your question mostly?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we do capture data. It's actually been a while since we've kind of aggregated it and see how it's changed over time. Just from looking at our board, because we visually track the work that we do, it's clear that work flows through the team a lot quicker than it usually does if it's only one person working on one thing. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be useful to go through an exercise again of compiling the data and aggregating it. Yeah. And we have done it once before, and it's definitely shown that as a team, the throughput has gone up. We're dealing with less production issues these days than we have been a while ago, since before we started doing this. So we can usually tell by our support load. So being a cross-functional team and a team that takes responsibility for work end to end, we believe it's important for us to support our own systems. So if we feel the pain, we'll be doing something about it. We'll be making it better. And in the last couple of months, our support load has actually gone down. And the metric that we use for that is we used to have 2 people on support. We have a rotating support role amongst the team. Every week we change. We used to have 2 people on support, and we've actually gone down back to 1 again, because the support load is just tapered off in that sense.
That's really good. That's a nice measure of quality, isn't it? The support load.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another one is,
sorry, go
on. The feedback that we're getting from our product owner. I mean, he has on many occasions said he's happier with the way with what we're delivering on the priority items that the team is given. And I think that's also a measure of how successful more programming has been.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I guess you're accountable to him, aren't you? At the end of the day, it's his product, it's his money, it's his battle.
Yes. And if your product owner comes to you and says, you know what, we're at the point where I would like to see 2 mobs in this team, because I'm getting value for what I'm paying for, that is a good metric to go on.
That's brilliant. So can we expect to see any lessons around that in the session? Let's test.
I'd say we hope so. Some of the lessons we wanted to be experiential. We would like people to explore and learn and see what could work in their context. But yeah, that is definitely something we hope people can extract and can get out of the session.
Yeah, and also what we're hoping to share a bit about is not just the mob programming aspect of how we do things, but the whole culture of collaboration, and how effectively developers and testers can work together, and what it actually means for the sequence of doing things. Because in traditional environments, you'd find that developers would write the code and then throw it over the wall to a tester or a testing department. And just that kind of feedback loop is too long. So what does it mean when you have a team, a cross-functional team with developers and testers, and how do you then effectively work together to shorten that feedback loop? So we're hoping to share a little bit about that. So we'll also be showing some interesting things about our environment, the board itself, which we think is unique in a number of ways.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, because your board should evolve as you evolve, shouldn't it? People kind of forget that. They see the Kanban storyboard, they model a template, and they go, right, we've got it, but then they don't ever improve it. So it's by the sounds of it, yours has evolved as your processes and your team has evolved. Is that right?
Absolutely. What we've actually done a couple of times now is that what you want to say?
Go for it.
Yeah. What we've done a couple of times now is we've gone and just decided to wipe the board clean, remove every piece of card and every line and every lane that's on the board, and say, okay, everybody, let's think about having a board from scratch. What would a board of value have? What would people want to have on a board?
Oh, brilliant.
And what we did is we limited the changes that we could make on any given day. So we started off with one simple board with 3 lanes, and we went back to our cards and said which one's the most important, and got that one card on the board. And at every stand-up, what we did is we allowed the team to vote and make one change based on the pain that they were feeling that was not being represented on the board. And that way, after about 2 weeks, we built a board from scratch, but it was really an evolutionary process where everything was intentional and every team member got to contribute and say what it meant for them to have a board.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you kind of did a massive a revolution first and then evolve from there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Reset.
Yes.
Right. We digress a bit. Go on. Sorry, Young.
No, it's actually I would highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you're working in a team, if you can convince your team members, I'd say try it. It's a really, really interesting experience from a learning point of view, because you go through this process of discovering of what is really important to you as a team, and reducing waste in that sense. As you mentioned earlier, people take it from a template or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
If you go through this exercise of starting with a clean slate, you really only focus on what is important to you right now. Where's the pain we're feeling? How can we make it less painful tomorrow?
Yes, and another thing that happens is every team member starts to have this feeling of ownership and responsibility of the board, because they know they were involved in the decisions that led to creating that board. And not only that, but they also understand why things are the way they are on the board, because they were involved in every step.
We at a previous company, we had an iteration manager who came in and stayed late and just completely cleaned the board and reset it for how she wanted it. The next morning, everyone came in and there was outrage. It was like, where's my board gone?
Yeah,
exactly that. But it kind of did serve to get rid of a lot of the noise when we rebuilt it back to how we wanted it.
Right.
It wasn't the same as it was before. Yeah, that's a really neat idea. I've got a brand spanking new whiteboard sat right behind me where I work, that I am going to adopt that idea on this afternoon. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let us know how that goes, Duncan.
Yeah, well, I'll bring some pictures to Let's Test.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Because we're not co-located, so we've got other challenges, but we do need a whiteboard. We haven't got one at the moment. We're just using a digital board, and it has its failings. But anyway, this is stuff we need to talk about. We need to talk about this at Let's Test. Oh no. So going back to kind of your sessions at Let's Test, you're in South Africa as well, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that went?
Oh yeah, the Let's Test in South Africa. In fact, maybe let me go back a little, where our story started, where our love affair started with Let's Test.
Okay.
So in October or November of 2014, there was Tasting Let's Test South Africa.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a one-day conference, and it was just that, feeling the waters, testing the interest of, testing in South Africa. And Janco and I both attended that session, where I gave my very first lightning speech or lightning talk. And at the end of the day, Janco and I were sitting in a pub, and Henke Anderson came and joined us in conversation and beers. And through that, he sort of got us to agree that, one day it would be awesome for Janco and I to do a joint presentation of how we work. But it was really from telling him how we worked, what we did, just getting to know each other. And he said, hold on, have you thought about your story? Have you seen that your story could be helpful? You have a story to tell. And we said, what? We just live our lives. That's how we just do things. We don't see it that way. He said, no, hold on. You guys have a story to tell. You've got to tell the world what you're doing, and there could be a lot of interest out there. So that is really what planted the seed of what we did at Let's Test in 2015 in South Africa. And that has grown to what we're doing in May in Sweden.
Fantastic. And is there many changes that you're making to the session in Sweden based on your learnings from South Africa?
Definitely. Yeah, so we got some good feedback from our session in South Africa end of last year. And we're also bringing in the mob programming aspect of it, which we didn't have before.
Right.
So we're hoping that it's going to make it a little bit more interesting as well.
Fantastic. Have people been giving you some insights what it's like at Let's Test Sweden? Has anyone kind of been like giving you the kind of the insights into the food, the location, the vibe?
Yeah, so for starters, we are just wondering how you can keep people focused for what seems like 18 hours a day for 3 days. So we're just so curious to find out how that will work. I've spoken to Louise, and she says it's going to be the greatest conference you've ever been to. So I've also checked out the pictures of the location. It looks like an amazing venue.
Yeah, it does look amazing.
So yes, we are very excited about it, and it's really a lot of curiosity, just an openness to learning and sharing, and just being there and trying to get every part of the vibe into it, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I personally, I don't really know what to expect, which is I'm not sure how to take that, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it and see what happens.
brilliant. That's it. Yeah, it will be an experience. I can't wait to see how it will go having the was it 18 hours a day. Because the informal kind of chats go on for that long, right? But kind of wrapping sessions around it. It's just it'll be good. It'll be funny, and it looks like they've put some really interesting ones on that kind of finish at 3 in the morning, haven't they? Just to keep interest alive.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, guys. Was there anything else you want to talk about?
So being from South Africa and being used to sunny and warm weather, we're not sure what to expect in terms of weather. So, not that I want to talk about the weather, but, I'm actually scared of the weather. So I have no idea.
It's changeable. I would take a range of clothes. So for one day I started off in shorts, and by the end of the day it was chucking it down and blowing a gale.
Oh,
okay. Well,
okay.
That's good advice then. Thanks.
Doesn't really help you, right? Yeah. But I'd have to say on the whole it's sunny. Maybe not as warm as South Africa, but it's sunny, and it makes the place all lush and green. It's really good.
Yeah. No.
Swimming in the Baltic if you fancy it.
So are you going to be presenting any sessions this year, Duncan?
No, not this year. Not this year, unfortunately. So okay. I'll be helping facilitate and just lurking in the back of other people's sessions.
Awesome.
And also I'll have a camera as well, so I might be going to stick it in your face.
So I might need to shave a bit or something.
Sorry, repeat that, Janco?
Oh, no, I was just saying I might need to shave a bit then before then.
And I'm sure it'll grow right back.
It's a manly beard. Quality. All right, guys. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I want to thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to catching up with you then when we get to Let's Test.
Oh yeah, very much
Sure.
Looking forward to that. And thanks for the chat, Duncan. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Duncan, and looking forward to spending time with you. Let's test.
When do you get in? When you're arriving in Stockholm?
I'm arriving on the 20th. That's Friday the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm checking my calendar. I'll be arriving on the 19th, and I'll be spending a day or so at another company that I'm really interested in to see how they work and do things. So there's a bit of learning there on the trip as well.
No,
and then it's the conference.
it's gonna be awesome. Excellent. All right, guys, I will catch you there. I may catch you in Stockholm beforehand, depending on what time I land. But
give us a shout, and we can catch up.
That'd be good. Go and grab a beer, and otherwise I'll see you at the conference.
Awesome. Well,
Great.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Duncan.
Catch you later.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Duncan.
Cheers. Bye.